An industry peer asked me whether they thought being a part of Restoration Industry Association, the RIA, was valuable to them as a business owner.
Hey, I heard you want to get more involved.
What do some people want to hear? No. It's a waste of money. It's a waste of time. What have they done for us? Just sprinkle a little this fairy dust, put a little that fairy dust in together, rub some stones in it, and recharge them in the power of the moon. Someone says, I don't know if I should go to a convention or a conference. And you would say,
I have a solution. You can go to both in one fell swoop.
what would the opposite be? Oh my gosh. Every penny spent is returned to me tenfold. They always think only about me when they're making their decisions. I knew it. People are right. This guy is just a RIA apologist. Okay, I mean, this is complete hogwash.
Hi, everybody out there, DYOJO Nation.
As a contractor, every day is a fight for survival.
What the hell are we doing here, Harry?
DYOJO is the Do Your Own Job Dojo.
Sweep the leg.
Curated by John Isaacson, contractor,
Can I inspect your home?
author,
There's nothing like it out there.
and mediocre podcast host.
Nicely done on keeping it together.
The DYOJO Podcast.
Should be listening to you.
Helping contractors shorten their dang learning curve.
Only here on the DYOJO Podcast, folks.
You have entered the DYOJO Podcast.
Similar to a conversation I had last week, I know there are restoration contractors who are wondering whether they should join the RIA. Maybe contractors like myself who were a part of it, didn't find a ton of value in it, and have recently become re-engaged.
Hey, fellas.
And also wondering whether it's worth the expense to try to go to the annual convention and expo.
Honest conversation.
First off, I think that's an individual decision. I would contrast that with the reality, even for self-preservation alone, you should understand that you cannot take on the powers aligned opposed to us by yourself.
You merely adopted the dark. I was born in it.
So connecting and collaborating with fellow restorers is a must.
Important for me to give back and to leave it better for the next generation that comes along. So I also like to just be involved. I like to feel like I have a place where I belong in a community that I'm a part of. I'm just a big believer in community. So this restoration community, it's just amazing. You can have just wonderful relationships with people across the country and in other countries. So for me, I volunteer because the relationships that I'm able to build with RIA, they're just invaluable to me, and they help me in my business all the time.
So connecting and collaborating with fellow restorers is a must. Can't just happen once a year out of town, but it's got to happen locally, regionally. This would be an example of nationally and then even internationally. And the first time I went, I thought it was huge. Went with my manager. I think I was the one that convinced him to go. And we attended some of the sessions, walked through the trade show, but didn't really find a whole lot of value at that time. And it didn't really feel like it was something that was helping us at that particular time. No, it's a waste of money. It's a waste of time. What have they done for us? But those who know the history of the association could tell you multiple stories to the contrary. One example of that, last year, Scott Stamper shared some of the industry tea, as they call it, in his speech.
No fluff.
For the Marty L. King Award, the MLK Award. Sometimes you'll hear it referred to. And so if you think our industry doesn't have drama, excitement, or intrigue, you're definitely wrong. There have been issues like heat, of all things. Look it up. Heat was an issue that threatened to rip our industry and the association apart, and really was used in a nasty way to take several contractors to the brink of bankruptcy. Heat. I'm not joking. Heat. The assignment here would be to look that up. I'll probably share the links to some of the articles regarding that in the blog. Annual convention passport item. Number one would be to make sure you attend the announcement for the MLK Award. I'm going to talk a little bit later in this episode about who Martin, aka Marty L. King, was. But the Martin L. King Lifetime Achievement Award is presented to individuals being recognized for their exceptional service and dedication to the restoration industry. The winner of the Martin L. King Award is always announced at the annual convention and industry expo. Here's a video the association put together to help explain this historic award.
Marty retired as RIA's technical advisor in 2012, but continued to serve as a volunteer on the consensus body for the development of the ANSI Fire Restoration Standard until his passing on May 7th, 2015.
I hope Marty and Judy can rest in peace, knowing that their life's work has helped to create an honorable profession that provides an important service to society. And as one of your biggest fans might say, and you can make a good buck along the way too.
In 1986, RIA, then known as Association of Specialists in Cleaning and Restoration International, established the Martin L. King Award to be presented at the annual convention, highlighting the CR induction ceremony. This award is presented to an individual who has over many years made significant and conspicuous contribution to the restoration profession. The contributions of prior winners can be categorized into one or more areas, including education, technical innovation, business acumen, and general industry enrichment. Martin King was the match that ignited the industry known as fire damage restoration. The ML King Award truly embodies his vision for our profession.
Obviously, winners of this award have made significant contributions to our industry. There's a list on this year's Expo website. I'll just read off a couple of the last 10 or so.
2023 was Scott Stamper. 2022 was John Pletcher. 2021, because we missed the 2020 event, announced Charles E. Cassani and Edward Cross. 2019, Jack White. 2018, Ernie Storer from here in Washington. 2017, Ken Larson. He teaches one of the pre-convention courses. 2016, Sam Bergman. 2015, Mike Goldberg. 2014, Ashley Easterby, whom I've had the pleasure of sharing a room with at Pete Consigli's winter break events, and he's also big involved with the RAA efforts in Australia.
2013, Larry Holder, a name I recognize from when I worked at Belfour, and the list goes on. Every industry association has some form of a Lifetime Achievement Award.
Martin L. King is the restoration industry's most prolific author and one of its leading innovators.
So that is your RIA passport stop number 1. Be in the room when the RIA MLK Award is announced.
In 1986, RIA established the Martin L. King Award to be presented at the annual convention, highlighting the CR induction ceremony. This award is presented to an individual who has over many years made significant and conspicuous contribution to the restoration profession.
And take a look at the list, get to know the prior year's winners, and try to meet at least 3 of these awardees. You want to be the best, you got to surround yourself with and collaborate with the best to challenge your mindset and habits. So if you want to be the best, you owe it to yourself to challenge your mindsets and habits against the best of the best.
I'm ready to go in, Coach. Just give me a chance.
Be careful in that distinction. Best of the best doesn't always mean the biggest and the shiniest or the loudest. But those who are in the trenches, those working behind the scenes, those trying to inspire change, again at the local, regional, national, and even the international level.
You have different ways that RIA has addressed various challenges that then change how we approach those in our business now.
I mentioned Ashley Easterby, and there's many others who come over from Australia and around the world. There's a good presence in Europe as well. And so I think that would be RIA annual convention, passport item. Item number 3 is try to meet a restorer from every state and beyond. Share your information with them, keep in touch. How cool is it? Sometimes it can be a little difficult to maybe share all the details with somebody in your local market, a peer-to-peer. That may still be a competitor. But having people in other states and even other countries frees you to maybe discuss things that you wouldn't be comfortable sharing with someone local. Bounce ideas off them, say, is this something that you've tried? Those kinds of things. So again, challenge your mindsets and habits by trying to meet with the best of the best, and I believe this is a good place.
Where's my wife?
The RIA annual convention and industry trade show is a great way to kind of meet a wide range of people from our industry, engaged in the industry from across multiple territories. Someone says, I don't know if I should go to a convention or a conference, and you would say,
I have a solution. You can go to both in one fell swoop. It's so much fun. I mean, like, we literally have the best people in our industry. If you don't know anyone, you will by the time you leave. Somebody will come up and just start talking to you. You'll get pulled into a conversation. The first time I went, I didn't have any like buddies there. And I was like, oh my God, what am I going to do? And somebody I barely knew was like, just come with me. And went out to dinner, and I had a million things to do.
We want to thank our sponsor.
I will not bow to any sponsor.
Epic Estimates. Any estimate, anywhere, anytime. Let the award-winning Epic Estimates help your team write the next Xactimate or Symbility estimate, freeing your team up to do what they're good at while helping your business maximize productivity and profitability. The Restoration Industry Association. Connect and collaborate with your industry peers through the largest nonprofit professional trade association dedicated to the unique plight of restoration contractors. Join us April 8th through 10th, 2024 in Dallas, Texas for the RIA Convention and Industry Expo. Actionable Insights has built the Actionable Xactimate profile, which provides live estimating guidance while you work in Xactimate to help your estimating team avoid costly mistakes. Create accurate, more complete estimates with the Actionable profile. It's a no-brainer for anyone looking to upgrade their Xactimate estimating workflow. No more estimating mistakes, no more missed line items. How to Suck Less at Estimating, Habits for Better Project Outcomes, book number 4 by John Isaacson. This is available in paperback as well as an interactive course available through our friends at Restoration Technical Institute. Gain valuable insights on setting your estimating team up for success, processes and procedures for good sketches, detailed photo documentation for claims, how to level up as an estimator, and field resources such as using Xactimate for materials list and budgeting. By taking the 6-module course, again through our friends at Restoration Technical Institute, you can gain 6 hours of self-paced instruction that are eligible for continuing education credits with the IICRC. Thank you to our sponsors. Please let them know that you heard about them on the DYOJO Podcast.
You have entered the DYOJO Podcast.
So a little bit about my personal journey. I graduated high school intending to be in the skilled trades. I grew up my uncle was a contractor. That got me really interested in construction. I share quite a bit about that in book number 2, Be Intentional Estimating. Be Intentional Culture. Be Intentional Estimating is the first book.
Be Intentional Culture. Book hug moment.
We got the hugger in the house.
I'll take this brief moment, this faux pas of my own, to announce that we now have some of the books available in audio as audiobooks. There's a new thing where they can take the Kindle books and using AI robot readers turn those into audiobooks. So
this title is narrated with virtual voice, computer-generated narration for audiobooks. So, you want to be a project manager?
Oh la la!
By Jonathan Isaacson. Forward. Around 2007, restoration professionals began to take notice of Purdue University's Construction Management (CM) program. The industry was excited that it was being received and included in academia with opportunities to earn recognition in our area of specialization.
That is much easier than even turning the latest book, which is the shortest one and the simplest one, into an audiobook. I've been working on that for a while now, and it's still, whereas opposed to these, I was able to click a button and they're ready to roll. So I encourage you to check those out. But back to what I was talking about. My uncle was a contractor. When I went to California, I'm originally from Washington. I now am back in Washington, but had a great job at a cabinet shop. Went to one of the worst jobs I've ever had, so I was applying to a little bit of anything and everything, and I answered an ad for carpet cleaning in the local newspaper for a ServiceMaster franchise. So I was aware of the skilled trades, aware of construction, but not aware of this property restoration segment. I got hired. I was on a mold team, if you can believe that. Some people have trouble believing that. We had a division in our company that was specifically dedicated to doing mold work. And I wanted the opportunity to make some extra money, so I learned and went on call with our water team, but then had the fortune of taking WRT, Water Restoration Technician, with the IICRC, and then AMRT, the Mold Certification Applied Microbial Remediation Technician. Lucked out, and Peter Sirk was my instructor. And so I can't remember if it was in that class that he brought, I believe they were called IE Connections. There used to be a magazine, came out like a newspaper, and either my manager had already been subscribed or I got a subscribe through that class. That publication is no longer available. I believe it's from IAQA, and I loved reading that, Dr. Harriet Burge's articles in particular. And the IAQA is working to rebuild their association with the effort of many good people, including Jeremy Beagle, whom I've had the fortune of meeting at Pete's winter break events, vis-a-vis Ralph Moon as well. They're both doing some really good work in the realm of industrial hygiene and indoor environments.
So this is the definition of a competent professional. I think it's a really good definition. I don't think you need to have a bachelor's degree. I think we all understand that now, that experience can trump a degree, but it's still good to have. But what does it talk about? I think Pete was talking before. We have building science. We have to have this knowledge in building science, microbial assessments, exposure, HVAC. These are all things that are affecting. If we have experience in assessing these things, it's going to make us more competent. 2 years under competent professional. It means mentorship. I don't think a lot of people get mentorship. I worked with Ralph for 13 years. We had a really good team. Worked with Albert. We all fed off of each other. We learned from each other. And not a lot of people get that, and you need that. Even if you don't work for somebody, it's joining an association or something like that to where you can get somebody to call you and talk to you.
IAQA should be at the convention again. Stop by. There's Passport RIA Annual Convention. Passport item number 4. Stop by the IAQA booth, Indoor Air Quality Association, and tell them you want the IE Connections magazine back, in particular the way it was printed in the paper.
Please, Bob. Give me. I need.
That was always a fun thing to get, and exceptionally well done. But also that's industry adjacent for some of you that offer similar services or want to step up your education. I know in Seattle we have a group that meets monthly, for local indoor environmental professionals. So that's a great way to get involved. And if you're not familiar with the IICRC designations, you definitely need to stop by their booth at the RIA.
You can rely on the IICRC standards to access the guidelines created by some of the brightest minds in the industry.
The most common are WRT, AMRT, FST is the fire and soot technician. A local operator here in Washington, we got together for cigars, And we both had discussed, most people start with WRT, but it might be even better to have people start with HST, which is the Health and Safety Technician, and also gets you the 10-hour OSHA certification. If you've ever taken 10-hour OSHA, it's very broad as it relates to the industry, whereas the course does a good job of trying to help apply those principles to water and fire damage, property restoration principles. So there's your Passport RIA Annual Convention passport item. Item number 5 is stop by the IICRC booth and discuss the ways they can help you level up the education for your team. Usually there's courses offered locally. A lot of times, like here in Seattle, Ramsco does a really good job of offering those courses in their local office, as well as our Portland office just to the south of us. And then if you have a larger team or want to get together, like one of the contractors did with in our area to get a certain instructor down, then they're usually pretty helpful in trying to make that happen.
You done messed up, Aaron!
So in addition to the IE Connections magazine that came out, I found the IAQ radio. So you got the DYOJO Podcast and several others that are providing content for the industry, but really the OGs of property restoration podcasting, they were podcasting before we even called it that. IAQ radio literally broadcast on internet radio, and I think the same then as it is now, Fridays at 12 p.m. Eastern Time. You had Cliff, the Z-Man Zlotnick, and Radio Joe Hughes.
Ask them to explain to you simply, how does it work? Imagine that I'm a 6-year-old. Explain it to me. And if these people cannot explain it to a 6-year-old, according to Albert Einstein, they don't understand it themselves.
Just bringing in people that are really on the cutting edge of thinking through what it means. I mentioned Ralph Moon. He's one that always, why are you sampling the thing that you're sampling? Are the samples doing what you think they're doing?
I thought it was really interesting that one of the speakers the other day just distilled the psychometric chart down to, hey, this chart shows that where cool things get wet, right? And that's basically what it is, right? It just gives you the criteria. But one of the elements, again, in this mystery of apparent failure after successful remediation is driven by your curiosity. These issues of unusual sources of moisture that seem to develop in strange places in which there's no explanation. Look at the box. And I think Dr. Seabrook mentioned the other day the intricacy of looking at performance of multi-layered, multi-unit facilities and the challenges of understanding the interrelationships between them.
So really thinking through not just doing it the way that we've always been taught, but thinking through, is this effective? Is the data telling us what we want to hear, or are we interpreting the data properly? So that would be RIA Annual Convention passport item. Port number 6. Stop by the IAQ radio booth and thank Cliff for all he has done for the industry. He's a pretty humble guy, so he'll really love that. He'll really appreciate that.
Let's do it.
Cliff is one of the 4 faces on the Mount Rushmore of property restoration. He, along with 3 other pivotal figures, was identified by our friend Pete Consigli, the restoration industry watchdog. And you can find this article. I keep this handy. The March 2007 issue of Cleaning and Restoration, CNR Magazine, Founding Fathers of Restoration. And if you open it up to the bookmark, you've got the 4 faces on Mount Restoration. So that's Passport RIA Annual Convention passport item. Item number 8. Find Pete Consigli. He won't be hard to find.
Hi, everybody out there, DYOJO Nation. This is the Global Watchdog, Pete Consigli.
You can hear him talking with all of his friends at RAA and sharing in conversations about the past, present, and future of the industry, which he loves and has committed his life to. But stop and thank him for all he has done for the industry. He will genuinely like that. But something fairly new, Pete oftentimes, as you saw in the video, is involved in the Marty Award announcement. But just before the Marty Award, you'll want to be in the room as they announce this year's winner of the Pete Consigli Scholarship Award. So there's a great tribute to Pete and his dedication to property restoration, education, and higher designations. But the RAA offers scholarships for those that are pursuing those items. Those can be costly in the way of time and obviously the money to go through. And so organizations and individuals that are pursuing that, there is scholarship money available. Are you struggling to find ways to engage with young professionals in the workforce? P2T, the new book by John Isaacson.
Largest generation in the workforce for the next few decades.
Create a competitive advantage for your business.
You've got to learn to deal with us.
2T, preparing to thrive in the modern workplace.
With the younger generation, it's way different.
My new book will help you better engage young professionals and help you articulate a pathway to success.
You've got to show them a path to success.
That is a win-win for employers and employees. P2T, provide new hires with a path to success.
Communicate value and that there's opportunity, then they might stick around.
For me personally, one of the elements I appreciate about being a part of RIA is the opportunity to learn about restoration history. To that effort, we've created propertyrestorationhistory.com, something that I need to update again. So I mentioned that article, The Four Faces on Mount Restoration, taking the best of the past to build for the future, was written by Pete Consigli.
Pete Consigli, Global Watchdog.
So the first founding father we mentioned is Martin King, also known as Marty.
Cliff Zlotnick, who's also an industry icon, wrote 4 words: igniter of an industry. So many books and papers being written, all research documents were there, and all of his writing. I mean, I think it's worth preserving. I really do.
Yeah.
And whether this new crop of people that do this work really want to learn more about him, they would have the opportunity to.
Yeah. If you care about this industry's past as well as its future, you should get familiarize yourself with, starting with propertyrestorationhistory.com.
But there's 4 words. That's exactly how I would describe it. Igniter of an industry.
Yeah.
He got this industry going into what it is today. Igniter of an industry.
Unfortunately, Marty is no longer with us, and the second founding father is Lloyd Weaver. Lloyd introduced the first specialty design porta-dryer for on-location wet carpet drying.
He worked for years getting the pressures correct on his carpet fan.
While that might not seem like much in today's sophisticated world, 35 years ago, this was written in 2007.
Then someone will ask, well, how do you know when you have enough? He says, when you blow a fuse, you take one out.
Lloyd's methodology challenged the rug cleaning establishment in its in-plant wet carpet service. Lloyd also infuriated the fire restoration establishment as he encouraged carpet cleaners to diversify. PropertyRestorationHistory.com. Unfortunately, Lloyd is no longer with us as well. I had the pleasure of interviewing his sons and grandson, some content that I'm still working on. And but one of the voices you heard in that last clip and earlier in this episode is Cliff Zlotnick, the Z-Man. You can still hear him on IAQ Radio on Fridays at noon, and he continues to attend the Restoration Industry Association annual convention as well as Pete's events for winter break in Florida at the beginning of every year.
In our industry, people look for the highest tech solution rather than the lowest tech solution. And I think we should look for the lowest tech solution that'll work first before we go to any higher tech solution. This is, I think, a lot about complication, John. people can be made to feel helpless. And I think that's what happens with a lot of these products. They give you this really sophisticated sales pitch. There's all kinds of numbers and there's equations and math, and like none of us are good at math. And people figure that they don't understand it. Therefore, the person who invented it's smarter than I am. Not necessarily true.
Yeah.
Ask them to explain to you simply, how does it work? Imagine that I'm a 6-year-old.
Yeah.
Explain it to me.
Yeah.
And if these people cannot explain it to a 6-year-old, according to Albert Einstein, they don't understand it themselves.
So Cliff is alive and well, as is Claude Blackburn. Both of these gentlemen are inventors and innovators. And I had the pleasure of meeting Claude at RIA, and also had him on the podcast as well.
If the owner's stealing money, the owner's playing games, everybody will play games. You can't get away with it. And somehow owners seem to think they can get away with this crap.
No.
And if you want integrity in your organization, you got to walk the talk. I mean, otherwise it won't work. Yeah. It's like the owner coming into the till in a grocery store or something, taking money out of the till, putting it in their pocket. Hey, next thing you know, you got all your employees taking money out of the till and putting it in their pocket. I mean, it's just the way it works,
Well, I'm sure my article in Restoration and Remediation Magazine is top of the list for you. You check it every month, first thing you read. But that's exactly where so often we hear owners saying, well, I can't get my guys to stop going to the hardware store. And then so the question is, well, what does their work order look like? And then it's like, well, what's a work order? So if you're not providing details, you can't hold people to a standard higher than what you, exactly like you're saying, than what you hold yourself to. And those things trickle down, and we always want to blame, right? It's the insurance company. It's my stinking carpenters. It's the subcontractors, so. Yeah. Let's see. I've always had an interest in history, and so when I was in this industry, got into this industry, I pursued elements of history and training and those kinds of things. And one of the articles that really set me on the path I'm on now and helped connect me with a lot of people that I'm connected with now in that pursuit was an article by Michelle Blevins. She's, at the time, was editor of Restoration and Remediation Magazine.
This is not okay.
She's now the owner of Cleaning and Restoration Magazine.
That's fine.
She wrote an article, A Brief History Through RIA History, celebrating RIA's 70 years of industry leadership. And that article is still available from 2016 in Restoration and Remediation Magazine and on their website. There's some fun photos in there of some historic people and just great references to people and materials, dates, and organizations that have been pivotal in the development of our industry. Michelle does a great job of releasing pieces of restoration history, helping, again, connect the past with the present and the future. So that is Passport Stop, RIA Annual Convention, Passport item number 11. Make sure you go by the CNR booth and get your free subscription to CNR Magazine.
Great story, compelling and rich.
Thank you for tuning in to the DYOJO Podcast. We hope you were informed.
Yeah, so I've learned something here.
And entertained.
Are you not entertained?
DYOJO.com/podcast.
You can buy John a beer, you can support the show, or you can buy one of the books I've written, the last one being How to Suck Less at Estimating.
What am I supposed to do?
And you can find them on Amazon.
There's nothing like it out there.
And we've got a cast of beautiful characters here. This thing is like one big blended family, where you've got blended family issues, you got a couple of crazy uncles.
Pop quiz.
Do you know who the first guest of the DYOJO Podcast was?
You have entered the DYOJO Podcast.
It's a bit of a trick question.
Because if you go to the official The DYOJO Podcast website,
Episode 1 is Insurance Claims and Advocacy with David Princeton.
But
due to a technical error,
you'll see a whole lot less of me.
the first interview I officially conducted was...
Our guest is Ed Cross, also known as the Restoration Lawyer.
That was Ed drumming, in addition to his law office, cross-check, and the efforts with the Advocacy and Government Affairs Committee.
For the last 25 years, has been advocating and litigating on behalf of restoration contractors.
So that is why Ed is passport stop number 7 in the DYOJO recommendations at RAA Convention 2024. Stop by his booth, see what the team is up to, and ask him about his history with Alice Cooper.
I just realized how bad the optics are here. A lawyer with the shark like right over his shoulder. Be very, very careful going on a live broadcast with this man because he might get you in trouble in the process.
Well, there you have it, folks. That is the DYOJO Podcast passport stops for helping you maximize your experience at the Restoration Industry Association Annual Convention and Expo. There are many more great attractions, breakout sessions, trade show floor, exhibitors. Obviously, we encourage you to stop by each one of our sponsors and let them know you heard about them on the DYOJO Podcast. And look for us. We'll be there as well. I'm actually presenting this year on project management, I believe, on the last day. So would love to have you in that session if you dare. But thank you again for listening to the DYOJO Podcast. We hope to see you this year in Dallas in April and in the years following as you continue to connect, collaborate, and conquer, helping yourself and others shorten their dang learning curve.
What the industry needs is conversations like this.
Thursdays are for DYOJO Podcast.
What are you, stupid? Mindset change.
Helping contractors shorten their dang learning curve.
Once you get to the point where you're not willing to listen or not willing to learn, you pound sand.
DYOJO Podcast.
This is the stupidest thing I've ever heard.
This is complete hogwash.